I'm the head of data here at Fingermark. Today I want to take you through some key points on accuracy of customer journeys at the drive-thru and why we think that computer vision systems, including our own state-of-the-art Eyecue customer journey system, are the future for managing and troubleshooting your customer's journey through the drive-thru. Firstly, I just want to set the stage and define what we're talking about here. Drive-thrus have of course, been around for a long time now, and most people are familiar with them and how they work. You know, the idea is for people to get their food as fast and efficiently as possible without leaving their car. Now, in order for restaurants to offer a superior service in the drive-thru, they need to know what is happening in and around it. At its heart, this seems a relatively simple thing, but in reality it is a complex system involving multiple points that have to be monitored, customers who aren't always predictable, either unknowingly or unknowingly, and a whole ecosystem of food preparation inside the restaurant that has to be orchestrated. At the heart of all of this, there needs to be a system for tracking the customer. Only then can the restaurant know where the customer is, how long they have to prepare the food, what needs to be done to serve the food to those customers as fast as possible, etc. And for this to be as fast as possible, the tracking system needs to be accurate. Well, why does accurate tracking matter? The simplest answer is that only with accurate tracking can you hope to identify inefficiencies in the drive-thru. If you're not getting accurate information, any actions you do in response to the perceived circumstances in the drive-thru will not match reality, and you may find the situation actually getting worse and not better. In general, there are two ways in which accurate tracking can help. Of course, there's the real time, where the staff inside the restaurant can respond to the circumstances appropriately. But perhaps just as importantly, or even more importantly, is using historical data, where you can start to see patterns. And from those patterns, you can start to plan for future circumstances where those patterns may occur again. For example, you can plan to have more staff available at certain times, or you can plan to manipulate cars through the drive-thru given certain preconditions, etc. Once you understand both the real-time and historical issues, then you can identify the inefficiencies and start to fix them. Now, without accurate tracking, you may strike it lucky with a competent manager who can deal with heated situations, but it would be far better to equip everyone with the right information and the right actions. Now, all of that is well and good, but what is accurate tracking? Now, there are some obvious answers. Accurate timestamps, knowing exactly when events occur, does go a long way to being able to identify where in an order cycle a vehicle is, and also to use historical patterns from those timestamps to make more appropriate decisions. Following on from that, accurate timestamps give you accurate durations. Now, apart from appeasing corporate headquarters and their key metric goals, durations are a key indicator in efficiencies. It's rather obvious, but shorter durations usually point to higher efficiencies. And of course, an outcome of shorter durations is the ability to serve more customers and generate more revenue. And the third rather obvious accuracy metric is car counts. There are other ways to count cars, of course, and this is probably the weakest of the metrics when it comes to identifying inefficiency, but it can still be useful. But now we move on to metrics that are not obvious at first as being accuracy metrics. But I think you will begin to see how important they are and how next generation computer vision customer journey systems do have a huge advantage over legacy systems such as loop timers. Now, the first of these metrics is journey resolution. The resolution in the name refers to the number of events that can be tracked in the drive-thru. The higher the resolution, the more events that can be tracked, the easier it will be to see where bottlenecks might be occurring. We'll get into more detail on this shortly. A second non-obvious metric is journey completion. In effect, this metric could be seen as a combination of accurate timestamps and accurate car counts, but it does stand on its own. Journey completion is being able to track entire journeys and associating a particular vehicle with that journey and being confident that the journeys recorded do match reality. Again, we'll go over this one in more detail shortly. The final metric, which is probably not really a metric but more a characteristic, is tamper-proof. By this we mean the capability of restaurant employees to game the system. As we all know, many restaurants use drive-thru metrics to rank and reward the best performers, and humans being humans, The employees do like to find ways to cheat the system, artificially reducing drive-through times by sending vehicles to park up or using more creative methods to improve car counts or shorten average journey times. Now, before moving on, let's just have a quick look at a relative comparison between the legacy loop systems and the newer computer vision systems. In general, loops are only of reasonable accuracy when it comes to the standard accuracy metrics. Inherently passive, their accuracy in terms of detecting cars is well understood to be not that high, and because of the cost of installation and difficulty of relocating them if a drive-through configuration changes, they tend to offer very low journey resolution. Because of their inaccuracy and low resolution, their ability to offer good journey completion tracking is also very low. And because they are passive and in effect dumb, there are a number of ways that can be tampered with to artificially improve metrics. By comparison, computer vision offers vastly improved capabilities. It has been proven to be highly accurate in detecting cars, offering commensurate accuracy in time stamping and therefore durations, as well as car counts. And a huge advantage of computer vision is the fact that it is above ground, and it's almost infinitely adjustable when it comes to making sure the best vantage points are used for detecting and tracking vehicles. Because the infrastructure is above ground and uses relatively inexpensive cameras, it can be set up at more points around a drive-through with little expense. And the ability to not just detect vehicles but also humans and other visual artifacts means that the number and type of events that can be detected is limited only by the capabilities of machine learning, which, as we all know, are increasing exponentially over time. And following on from that, journey completion accuracy is also very high. And while it remains to be seen as to how human ingenuity will try to influence our eventual artificial intelligence overlords, the ability to easily tamper with a computer vision system is orders of magnitude harder than a loop system. At the very least, the very nature of computer vision means that any attempted tampering should actually be readily visible. I would now like to dive into the journey resolution metric in a bit more detail to show you visually what I mean and what computer vision can do for you. Let's consider a drive-through that has the following points around it: an order point, a payment point, a deliver point, a pull forward point, and a wait bay. Of course, not all restaurants follow this configuration, but the same principles of journey resolution apply no matter the configuration. And we can also add two other points immediately to this configuration which are not usually available to a loop timing system: a start and a finish point. These points can be considered the points at which a car is definitively entering the drive-through or leaving it, which may be well away from the order and delivery points depending on landscaping, etc. Now, let's consider the case where the restaurant has loop timers at the order, payment, and deliver windows, which is a very common configuration. Now, let's put a computer vision system in too. With a computer vision system, we can improve on this immediately, with cameras being able to see the start, pull forward, wait bay, and finish areas as well. Now, this may seem like an unfair comparison, but there are a couple of points to consider. The first is that historically loop timers have been sparsely used, and where there are journey points where it wouldn't matter if there were loop timers at the other points, computer vision still offers much more functionality, as we will see shortly. Now, if we start our car journey, we immediately see a point where the computer vision system improves on the loop timer. We can see when someone decides to join the drive-through. If the start region is appropriately placed, we can use this information, for example, to determine how many cars might try to join a drive-through but pull away or balk because the queue is too long. Now, moving on to the order point, the timings at this point are much the same between the two systems. Both will give an order start time and an order end time. And as the car moves to the payment window, both will recognise when the car arrives. But here is a major divergence in capability. A computer vision system has the capability to observe what we call human-vehicle interactions. In this instance, it's the transaction of payment, usually involving cash or a card between the car and the cashier. Computer vision can recognise this action and we can capture a human vehicle interaction, or HVI as we call it, a start and an end. And once the transaction has been completed, the car moves out of the payment area, which both systems will detect. But straight away we can see the power of the computer vision system in being able to capture more events. This becomes even more obvious as we move to food delivery. Again, both systems can track the car entering the delivery area, but only computer vision can see that there may be multiple human vehicle interactions and keep track of them all. And as we move out of the region of influence of the loop timers in this instance, and we go to the pull forward, this driver ordered a coffee which wasn't quite ready before, and we can see again the extra information or resolution that we get from the computer vision system. And it doesn't end there. This poor driver has also ordered a pizza, which is taking a long time to prepare. In order to move the car out of the normal drive-through flow to let cars behind exit faster, staff have moved the car to the wait bay. But again, computer vision can cover this region, and again we get start, end, and HVI information. Finally, after the driver gets the pizza, they can drive off. The final timestamp recorded is as they leave the drive-through at the finish area. It's obvious that the computer vision system offers substantial resolution benefits over existing systems. Some benefits are obvious, such as true journey times can now be tracked, and the system can't be gamed by sending a car to the pull forward window or wait bay, under which circumstances a loop timer, in this instance for instance, would cut the journey artificially short at the deliver window. But other benefits can be found by looking a little deeper. Now we can understand whether drivers spend a lot of time checking their order after they receive it at a delivery point before they pull away, a sign that they do not perhaps trust the accuracy of their delivered order. If the restaurant can do something about that, the customer experience can be improved and journey times cut down as customers feel confident to drive away immediately. This may have been understood as a pain point previously, but with computer vision data, it can be measured. And following on from journey resolution, let's take a quick look at journey completion. Again, let's look at a car journey and see what the differences between loops and computer vision might be. In this case, we have two cars following very closely through the drive-through. Both pass through the order point, but for whatever reason, the green car decides to pull out of the drive-through, in this case before the red car even makes it to the payment window. From this point on, there is only a single journey recorded. As before, it's obvious the difference in journey resolution, but what is also apparent is the inability of a loop timer to be able to make any decisions on the state of the car journey after the green car pulls out. There are two order starts and two order ends for the loop timer, but only single events after that. Without knowing any more information than the fact that something triggered the loops, there are a number of questions that a loop system cannot definitively answer. For instance, was this a single journey or two journeys? Was there a car that pulled out? I mean, we know there was, but the loop system doesn't know that. Was it the first car that pulled out, or was it the second? Was it just that the second car didn't trigger the payment and deliver loops? Which order start do we use for what looks to be potentially a single journey? In effect, this journey is rubbish from a data point of view, as we don't know what to trust. The computer vision system, on the other hand, because it uses vision to detect the cars and reacquire them between cameras around the drive-through, has a much more sophisticated capability when it comes to identifying which car is associated with which journey. We can categorically say that there were two journeys started, and we know that one car pulled out, and we know which one it was, and so that we know which event is associated with which car, so that we can keep that accuracy in the timing. And all of that data is still usable. Now, finally, I'd like to touch on the tamper-proof characteristic. It is well known and well documented that loop systems can be gamed. In fact, just type your favourite restaurant and a couple of keywords around cheating timers into a search engine of your choice, and you will see many examples of how legacy systems can be tampered with, including using the most mundane objects like a bucket on a string. Although no system is completely foolproof, it is likely to take more than a bucket on a string or a shopping trolley to fool a computer vision system. And the beauty of a computer vision system is that any attempts will be seen by definition, And what's more, with the continuing advances in computer vision, plus the fact that improvement is only a software upgrade away, any attempts to cheat the system are likely to be short-lived. So I hope you can see the benefit in this next generation of timing systems. I haven't touched on the increased ability to join this data with other data sets, such as point of sale or indoor tracking or online ordering, but those are topics for another day. But computer vision is a thing. Here at Fingermark, we have our computer vision customer journey system product known as Eyecue installed at over 300 restaurants around the world, and this number is only growing as restaurant owners everywhere recognise the worth in the extra data it can provide. Thank you for your time.
Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining, and thank you Mike for that beautiful presentation. Sorry, we had a bit of a technical glitch earlier, but we're back on. So I just wanted to quickly introduce you to our speaker, Mike here. Thank you. He's the head of data here at Fingermark. So just before I introduce them, we have had a few questions through, but if you have any questions that you would like Mike or Simon here, who's our product manager here at Fingermark, please just type it in the questions below and I'll ask these guys. So first question that I have had is, what or do you use LPR with your system, Simon? What is LPR?
So this is a question that we got sent through, relates to license plate recognition. So there are systems out there that attempt to use license plate recognition to track vehicles throughout the drive-thru. Our Eyecue system does not use that as a primary method of tracking vehicles.
Mm-hmm.
We've developed some proprietary computer vision models that use visual characteristics of vehicles to accurately, we call it reacquire vehicles between cameras. That means that we can accurately and confidently tell you that this particular vehicle belongs to that journey. It's very important in a modern dual lane or Y lane drive-through where a loop timer doesn't know which vehicle actually merges first.
Yes.
We're able to do that. However, we do have the capability to use license plate recognition, which opens up a possibility to integrate into loyalty systems, payment systems. Basically, because we're using cameras, we have that ability. It's just that we did not use it as a primary method.
Yeah, beautiful. We have a question here from Jeremy. So am I right in understanding that in a standard loop system, my journey is recorded as complete when I leave the pickup window, even if I've been parked and have no food yet?
Yeah, I guess I can answer that one. Yes, that is true in many loop systems. As I said in the talk, a lot of the configurations only include loops at the first deliver window,
Mm-hmm.
and depending on the configuration of the restaurant, there may be a pull forward window, and there may be a wait bay as well. So if a car leaves that deliver window and moves to a pull forward or wait bay and the order is not complete, then the timing does finish at that point, because there is no way for the loop system to know how long that complete journey is. Yeah, so that is a true statement.
Thanks, Jeremy. I had a question here that was written down from her. What opportunities do you foresee by combining data sets with data from the Eyecue product?
Well, other data sets, yeah. So I briefly touched on this in the talk, and I didn't go into too much detail because I think it is a much wider topic.
Yeah.
So there's plenty of other data sets out there that could be combined with the timing system. The most obvious one is the point of sale. So this is where we can understand what people are actually ordering.
Mm-hmm.
And combined with timing, that can be very powerful. We can see what people are ordering. It might be a particular combination of food that causes stress in the kitchen, and if that's recognized up front, then we can push cars directly into the wait bay and get them out of the flow of the traffic so that cars behind them can flow through a lot better as well. So there's a lot of power in that point of sale. There are some issues with matching up point of sale with the actual car journey.
Mm-hmm.
So there are some unanswered questions there that we're working through at the moment. But yeah, it's definitely a powerful way to improve your understanding of the efficiency of the drive-through. Having said that, there are other data sets that could potentially be used as well. There's things like, what's the weather at the moment? If it's cooler or if it's warmer, then it might influence what customers are buying. And you can, use that with the timing to work out, again, efficiencies in the drive-through. And other data sets that are potentially useful are things like what events are happening around you. If there's a big game at the stadium down the road, then, historically, you can look back and see what happened when the previous events happened. And you can work out, what you might need to do with your staffing levels or in the kitchen to improve the drive-through, because potentially a stadium crowd orders different food from the normal crowd.
Fries, lots of fries.
So yeah, there's lots of potential there for other data sets to be added, and I'm sure I've only scratched the surface of what you can do there.
That's exciting, really exciting. We have a question here from Craig. What does it take to install Eyecue?
Yeah, so at the heart, we're a computer vision system, so we put cameras in the right locations around your drive-through. So typically what we do for an individual store is we'd go out and do a site survey, understand where we need to put the cameras to track that specific drive-through. There's obviously installation of cables or physical installation that takes place. But from there, we have a server that is obviously powerful computer vision processing. To get all these camera streams, you can go anywhere from 3 to 8 cameras in a drive-through. So we've got some grunt there that processes all those events and turns them into data for us. So we do a physical install, but the key really is then working with the corporate and the store level as well to basically train them on the system, because it is quite different. Everybody is familiar with loop timers and the systems they give, familiar with in-store dashboards, which we also provide. But because we're going to a greater depth of understanding of the journey, we're really building up trust with the staff. The old systems, because they had a lot of issues, because they weren't timing accurately, the staff aren't motivated, and we feel that the staff really don't actually use the systems to their best ability. So a big part of us is working with a brand to understand what are the KPIs, what are the metrics that you actually want to drive at a store level, and then we can work to optimize in-store dashboards, the data, the reporting that you get at the store level. And then for a corporate, we obviously set up and configure data streams that might be ingested into their BI warehouses. So there's a kind of a it's kind of a deep dive. We don't just dump this in the ground and leave. We really enjoy working with the brands to understand what we need to unlock. I mean, not everybody has a weight bay, which is kind of a really obvious use case for this. But the sky's the limit. We're getting things like curbside collect, more delivery drivers, ever-changing environment. So we take an approach of partnering with a brand, not so much a vendor approach where we dump something in the ground and leave.
All the best. Trying to figure out how to do it. We have a question here from Sarah. How, and it kind of ties in with your thing about operational staff, how can you see the operational staff using the data? Like, how simple is it for them to understand, and what kind of benefit does it help, I guess, the on-ground operational staff? I don't know who wants to.
Yeah, I can take this. So I guess in terms of metrics, there are the obvious timing metrics that Mike has covered, order, pay, deliver. But because we're opening it up, it's really infinite. If you dive specifically into, say, the deliver window, understanding, the time between when you last handed the meal to a customer and the time they left, that has a big impact on, staff motivation and their behavior. If you're tracking your staff on a KPI, such as how quickly you deliver that meal to a customer, and the customer then doesn't leave, the staff can feel demotivated and unfairly treated as far as hitting their goals. But what we're able to show is that the staff did their job, and you've got another problem in your drive-through, which may be that, as Mike mentioned, the car's not leaving. And there's a variety of reasons for that, but you've never been able to look at that before. What we do is we really kind of narrow down and talk to the brands, what is it that you want to target, and we have an in-store dashboard that's completely configurable, so we can choose different metrics. We can have different in-store dashboards at different stations. So the order taker may not need to know the full journey, they just need to know what's relevant to them. Likewise, at deliver, you may want to know everything that's coming up. And then the manager in their office may have a full overview of the drive-through. So in-store dashboards are really powerful. And then obviously with all the events there, we can pick and choose any metric the brand wants to see.
And can I just add to that? It's not just the real-time data that's useful, obviously. It's that historical view as well. So being able to go back and pick up, as I mentioned before, pick up patterns in the data, and then work out, what the circumstances were around those particular events, and use them to plan for the future as well. So it's not just the real-time data that's important. It is that historical view.
So you can see key trends or key things
Absolutely.
that might be going.
Yeah, for sure.
We have Jeff here. You mentioned staff gaming systems. Could you expand a bit on that, please? Who wants to say that one?
The most clear and obvious one here is the use of wait bays or pulling cars forward when their journey isn't complete. Like I know, we've all come into this having been to a drive-through where you've got to a deliver window and the staff have asked you to pull forward into a wait bay, and you look behind you and there's no one else in the line. And you ask yourself why. It's not to help you, it's because the clock stops. The staff have done their job, the store's metrics look great, but the customer hasn't actually, the journey hasn't been complete. The customer experience is not great. So there are many ways to do that. I mean, the most obvious one is just pull forward every car. But without timing systems, you see staff using kitchen management tools and essentially bumping or ticking the order off as done before they've delivered it. So we see staff kind of doing that and then compiling the order after the kitchen system believes that the order is complete. And then, as Mike showed in the video there, with loops, we've seen quiet periods where a manager will jump in their car and essentially do laps around a drive-through, which really bumps up the car count and impresses because there's a big competition between stores. And the key to this is like we're not there to punish staff. We're not there to say, hey, we're tracking bad behavior. Like it's a byproduct. But what's really interesting is we've had stores that couldn't track their wait bay and the manager knew that. Because of that, they've just set an arbitrary target of don't send more than 10% of cars to the wait bay. So the staff actually become afraid of using the wait bay. And we've been able to prove through our data that you should actually be using it more often. And if you can know when to use it, for which vehicles, for which journeys, you can make far better use of it. So, it's not so much there just to stop people tampering with the system, which is very easy to do. But it's just showing you what's really going on.
Giving the staff really that power as well to make those decisions.
Lindsay here, do you guys operate worldwide?
Yeah, we're obviously head office down here in New Zealand. Big operation in Australia where the majority of our Eyecue installs are currently. But we've got a team up in the US where we're working hard on some proof of concepts and pilots at the moment, along with a couple of BAU customers. So the US is a big push for us. And that Fingermark doesn't just do these customer journey systems. We've been in the industry roughly 17 years providing digital menu boards and kiosks. And our kiosk and digital menu board products are in, pretty global, big presence in the MENA region, which is where we hope to take some of these products as well.
And a final question from Toby, maybe this is probably you to Mike. What do you think are some valuable insights that the QSRs can gain from the data sets? What do you think?
Well, I think the biggest things is being able to identify those bottlenecks in the drive-through, and with that high resolution that we can see with a computer vision system, we can narrow it down to a particular point. And it's going to be different between different restaurants as well. Not every restaurant is going to be the same. So at one restaurant, it might be at the cashier point, for instance. There might be something there that blocks the flow for whatever reason. In other restaurants, it'll be the kitchen, the food preparation. So I think the most powerful thing here is that we can offer that accuracy and that resolution to be able to narrow down to a particular point. And I mean, we can't tell the restaurants exactly how to change their systems and how to fix it up, but we can point them in the right direction for that.
Yeah, one thing I'll add to that is that for anybody to use data, they have to trust it. Okay, and that's a big step for us, is going out there, improving, that our system is something you can rely on.
Yeah.
Previously, when you weren't motivated and you never thought you were hitting your targets, it's easy to blame a system that doesn't time accurately. For us to come in and go, look, our data set is complete and it's really accurate, we can build up the level of trust in the staff and the brand to the point where they're actually willing to use it. And those operational changes, I mean, eventually they are up to the manager, the staff, the corporate, but we're providing them information that they know they can use.
Beautiful. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Thank you to Simon and Mike for your time. We will be sending a recording of this webinar to everyone. And so if you have any further questions, there will be a way to contact us back in the email. But thank you again for joining us. Appreciate your time. See you later.
Thank you, guys.